Welcome, everyone, to the first installment of This Week in Video Game History. My name is Doug Coleman, and if you look at the calendar, we are hanging out in the week of January 19th through the 25th. Usually, January is a dump month for movies and media. It's a quiet time where we all just recover from the holidays. But in the video game world, this specific week is apparently when game developers decided to get weird. We have the biggest shadow drop in Xbox history. We have the indie games that defined 2018. The moment that Pokemon got, shall we say, complicated? And a spooky coincidence involving Capcom that I still just can't quite explain. So grab your controller, everybody. Let's go check out the history. I want to start with a conspiracy theory. Hold on with me for a second, but I am convinced that someone at Capcom has circled this week on the calendar and labeled it Trauma Week. And if you're a Resident Evil fan, this is your holy week. Look at the timeline. January 21st, 1998. The original Resident Evil 2 hits PlayStation. And this wasn't just a sequel. It was the game that proved survival horror was a blockbuster genre. It gave us the zapping system where playing as Leon affected Claire's game and introduced us to Raccoon City proper. Now fast forward 19 years, the franchise is struggling. Resident Evil 6 was, let's be charitable, action heavy. The series had lost its way. So what does Capcom do? January 24th, 2017. They released Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. They stripped everything back. They put us in first person. They trapped us in a rotting house in Louisiana. It was risky. It was terrifying. And it saved the franchise. But they weren't done. Exactly 2 years later, almost to the day of the original game's release, on January 25th, 2019, we get Resident Evil 2 Remake. This is the gold standard for how you remake a classic. They managed to make zombies scary again, which was hard to do in 2019. So if you're looking for the evolution of horror, from tank controls to VR to modern third person, it all happened right here in this 7-day window. Yeah. Let's jump to 2018. This was a crazy year for games in general. There was God of War, Red Dead 2, but in January 2018, the indie scene basically said, hold my beer. First, on January 23rd, Subnautica finally left early access and hit version 1.0. I love this story because it's a survival game that dared to be different. In a world full of DayZ and Rust, where you shoot people for loot, Subnautica dropped us in an alien ocean, and the most interesting dev story here? They deliberately removed guns. After the Sandy Hook shooting, the developers at Unknown Worlds wanted to see if they could make a compelling survival game without lethal weaponry. And they did. Instead of shooting the Leviathan, you have to swim away faster, which is arguably way scarier. Then, just 2 days later, on January 25th, we got Celeste. If Subnautica was about external pressure, the ocean crushing you, Celeste is about internal pressure. This is a massacre platformer, sure, it's hard, you're going to die thousands of times, but the brilliance of Celeste is that the difficulty is the narrative. You're climbing a mountain, fighting your own anxieties. It proved that pixel art platformers could tell a story just as deep as AAA movie games. We live in an era of leaks. We usually know when a game is coming out 3 years before the trailer drops because someone somewhere found a trademark filing or a Reddit post. But on January 25th, 2023, Microsoft and Xbox pulled off a magic trick. During a developer direct, Tango Gameworks, the studio founded by Shinji Mikami, and I apologize for mispronouncing that, the guy who made Resident Evil, there it is again, showed up. We expected something scary. Instead, we got Hi-Fi Rush. It looked like a Saturday morning cartoon. It played like Devil May Cry mixed with Guitar Hero. Everything in the world moved to the beat. The trees, the footsteps, the UI. But the real history-making moment was at the end of the trailer. No coming holiday 2023, just play it today. It dropped on Game Pass instantly. It was polished. It was fun. It had zero marketing cycle. It proved that sometimes just making a good game and letting people play it is the best marketing strategy of all. Finally, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, or rather the mammoth with the machine gun in the room. January 19th, 2024, Palworld enters early access. We all saw the trailers. We all made the jokes. It's Pokemon with guns. We thought it was going to be a meme game that streamers played for 3 days and then abandoned. We were wrong. In this week of 2024, Palworld didn't just release, it exploded. It hit 2.1 million concurrent players on Steam. That is absurd. That is higher than Counter-Strike. It is the second highest concurrent count in the history of the platform, right behind PUBG. Why did it work? Because underneath the shock value of giving an assault rifle to a cute critter, the game loop was actually solid. It gave players what they had been begging Nintendo for years. A seamless open world, survival mechanics, and base building. It was janky, sure, the discourse was toxic, lawyers were sweating, but you can't talk about video game history in January without mentioning the week the internet collectively decided to catch them all and put them to work in a factory. So that's the week of January 19th. It's a week that rewarded risks. Whether it was Capcom rebooting their biggest franchise, Microsoft shadow dropping a rhythm game, or an indie dev deciding that Pokemon but with survival mechanics was a $1 billion idea. I want to know which of these games you played. Were you there day one of the Palworld chaos? Or do you have fond memories of renting Resident Evil 2 from Blockbuster in 1998? Let me know in the comments. I'm Doug, and this has been This Week in Video Game History, and I'll see you next week.